This is the Tree of Life, Season 17, Chapter 8. In this episode, we will be discussing the importance of acquiescence and awareness to defining the limits of how your vessel is used during digital dominance. To start out, in Season 16, Chapter 1, we talked about how awareness of an impulse permits negation, as well as the formation of that impulse into a substitutionary or analog structure. In Season 17, Chapter 7, we talked about how there may be two streams occurring at any time, one which accords with our vessel and the other which accords with our perceptions. These two are not necessarily the same. In one case, the digital stream may be dominant, in which case, our perceptions linked to our representation of our physical form or vessel may in actuality be disconnected from that vessel. In the other, our vessel may be experiencing perceptions, which are in actuality linked to another consciousness. Finally, in the third case, our perceptions are linked to our vessel in actuality. This describes analog dominance. Now, what we see is that analog structures are contextual. This means if you have two pairs of impulses, which are separately substitutionary, that is not part of the same set, you have two independent structures that have minimal overlap in context. In awareness of an impulse comes the opportunity for negation and the formation of that impulse into a substitutionary relationship with some other impulse within an analog structure. Awareness can be contrasted with acquiescence. Acquiescence to an impulse integrates that impulse into your vessel, describing how your vessel is used by the governing authority during periods of digital dominance. All of this means that acquiescence to an impulse permits the integration of other consciousnesses into your vessel acting pursuant to that impulse. This is prevented by negation and substitution, arising out of awareness, which transforms the negation of that impulse within a digital structure to negation within an analog structure, anchoring it to your perceptions within a particular context. What is the conjoined consensuality then? The conjoined consensuality is the stream corresponding to digital dominance. But that does not mean that the conjoined consensuality describes what is actually happening to your vessel. For the bounds of acquiescence determine the integration of other consciousnesses into your vessel during periods of digital dominance. Let me give you an example. Let's suppose you are at a party. Let's suppose you have a conversation with a woman by the stairs. Let's suppose that during this conversation, you have an impulse to ask her to go for a walk. There are three possibilities when you become aware of this impulse. You can acquiesce to it, but not act on it. You can act on it. Or you can negate it and substitute another. So let's say you acquiesce to it, but don't act on it. In this case, your vessel may assume another consciousness for a time who acts on that impulse and follows through with it. Your linear stream, during this intervening period, is displaced temporally and spatially into another vessel. This is a reverse substitution event. The second option, you can act on it and see what happens within your linear stream whilst in your vessel. Third, you can negate it, in which case you have circumscribed how your vessel can be used to exclude that particular impulse. In this case, you form a dialectical or substitutionary relationship with respect to the woman in the adjacent moment. What happens is you and your friend will have a contextually dependent dialectical orientation to two substitutionary impulses. You will part ways, with neither remembering the implicated experiences. That's the end of the podcast for today.